What would you do if you discovered that the car you thought your grandpa bought you was actually paid for by someone else? Someone who had been secretly supporting you your entire life? Well, that's exactly what happened to me at my grandpa's BBQ last weekend, and what I found out next will shock you to your core. Stay till the end because this story has a twist that will change everything you think you know about family secrets. Hey everyone, welcome back to Revenge with Amanda. I'm your host Amanda, and if you're new here, this is where we dive deep into the most shocking family drama, revenge stories, and life-changing revelations. If you love stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell because trust me, you don't want to miss what I share here. And before we jump into today's absolutely mind-blowing story, I want to take a moment to thank all of you who have been supporting this channel. Your comments, your likes, your shares, they mean everything to me. You've created such an amazing community here, and I love reading every single story you share with me. Now, let me set the scene for today's story that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about family love and sacrifice. So picture this. It's a beautiful Saturday afternoon in late spring, and my whole family is gathered at my grandpa's house for our monthly BBQ. You know the kind I'm talking about, the smell of grilled burgers and hot dogs filling the air, kids running around the backyard with grass stains on their knees, adults sitting in lawn chairs with cold drinks in their hands, and everyone just enjoying each other's company. The sun is shining, there's a gentle breeze, and honestly, it's one of those perfect family moments that you want to bottle up and keep forever. My grandpa, who's 78 years old and still the absolute life of every party, is manning the grill like he's been doing for decades. This man has more energy than people half his age, and he takes his grilling responsibilities very seriously. He's got his special apron on, the one that says Grill Master in bold letters, and he's flipping burgers with the precision of a professional chef. Everyone in the family knows that Grandpa's BBQ means you're about to eat the best food of your life. Now let me give you some important context about my grandpa and our relationship. This man has always been my absolute hero. Growing up, whenever I had problems at school, whenever I felt insecure about myself, whenever I needed advice about life, Grandpa was always there. He has this way of making you feel like you're the most important person in the world when he's talking to you. He listens with his whole heart, and he always knows exactly what to say to make you feel better. But the most incredible thing my grandpa ever did for me happened when I turned 18. I had been dreaming about having my own car for years. I mean, what teenager doesn't, right? I had been taking the bus to school, getting rides from friends, and basically depending on everyone else for transportation. I felt like such a burden sometimes, always having to ask for rides or plan my schedule around other people's availability. So when my 18th birthday rolled around, I wasn't expecting anything major. My family isn't wealthy by any means. My mom works as a nurse and does her best to provide for us, but money has always been tight. My grandpa is retired and lives on a fixed income from his pension and Social Security. I knew they loved me, but I also knew that big expensive gifts just weren't realistic for our family. But then, on the morning of my birthday, my grandpa showed up at our house with the biggest smile I had ever seen on his face. He was practically bouncing with excitement, and he had this mischievous look in his eyes that told me he was up to something special. He said, "Amanda, sweetheart, I need you to come outside with me. I have something to show you." And there, parked in our driveway, was a brand new Honda Civic. Not just any Honda Civic, this was a beautiful, shiny, brand new car with a big red bow on the hood. I'm talking about a car that I later found out cost nearly $25,000. For a retired man living on a pension, this was absolutely huge. I remember that moment so clearly. I stood there in my pajamas, staring at this gorgeous car, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My grandpa walked over to me, put his arm around my shoulder, and handed me the keys. He said, "Happy birthday, sweetheart. You've worked so hard in school. You've been so responsible, and you deserve to have your own independence. This car is yours." I started crying right there in the driveway. Not just little tears, but full-on sobbing. I couldn't believe that someone loved me that much. I couldn't believe that my grandpa had spent so much money on me. I kept asking him, "Grandpa, how did you afford this? This must have cost you everything you had saved up." And he just smiled and said, "Amanda, seeing you happy is worth more than any money I could ever keep in the bank." That car changed my life. Suddenly, I had freedom. I could drive myself to school, to work, to hang out with friends. I didn't have to depend on anyone else for transportation. But more than that, every time I got in that car, I felt loved. I felt like I had a grandfather who believed in me so much that he was willing to sacrifice his own financial security to give me something special. For 3 years, I've been driving that car. Every time someone compliments it, I tell them proudly that my grandpa bought it for me. Every time I wash it or get it serviced, I think about how generous and loving my grandpa is. That car wasn't just transportation for me, it was a symbol of his love and sacrifice. So fast forward to last Saturday. There I am at the BBQ, helping my Aunt Linda with the potato salad, when my grandpa calls out from across the yard. "Amanda," he says, waving the spatula in the air. "Come here for a second. I want to ask you something." I put down the bowl I was holding and walked over to him. He's got this big smile on his face, you know, the kind of smile that makes you feel warm inside and reminds you why you love your family so much. He puts his arm around my shoulder, and I can smell the familiar scent of his aftershave mixed with the smoky aroma from the grill. He says, "Tell me honestly, sweetheart, are you still loving that car I got you for your birthday? Are you taking good care of it? I hope it's been reliable for you." Now, here's where everything started to get weird. Before I could even open my mouth to answer him, I noticed my mom. She's standing maybe 10 feet away, arranging some flowers in a vase on the picnic table. But when she hears my grandpa's question, she freezes. I mean, she literally stops moving like someone just hit a pause button on her. She gets this look on her face that I had never seen before. Not a happy look, not a proud look, but this guilty, panicked look. Her eyes get wide, and she starts fidgeting with her necklace, which is something she only does when she's really nervous about something. And then she smiles, but it's not a real smile. It's one of those fake smiles that people put on when they're trying to hide something. It's one of those smiles that says, "Oh no, we need to talk about this later, but I'm going to pretend everything is fine right now." Something in that moment just didn't sit right with me. Call it intuition, call it gut feeling, call it whatever you want. But I knew something was off. My mom's reaction was too strange, too panicked for such an innocent question. Why would she look guilty when my grandpa asked me about the car he had bought me? So I decided to test the waters a little bit. I looked at my grandpa and said, "Grandpa, I absolutely love the car so much. It's been perfect for me. But I have to ask you something that's been on my mind lately. It must have cost you a fortune, though. How did you manage to save up $25,000 on your pension? I mean, that's a lot of money for anyone, but especially for someone who's retired." And guys, what happened next still gives me chills every time I think about it. My grandpa's face went completely blank. The smile disappeared, and he got this confused, almost worried expression. He looked at me, then at my mom, then back at me. The spatula in his hand stopped moving, and for a moment, everything seemed to go quiet even though there were still people talking and laughing around us. $25,000. He repeated slowly, like he was trying to process what I had just said. "Amanda, honey, I hate to break it to you, but I paid $3,000 for that car. It was used, remember? We got it from that little dealership on Miller Street, the one that specializes in good used cars for people on budgets. I showed you the paperwork when we picked it up. Don't you remember?" I felt my world stop spinning. $3,000? But that couldn't be right. The car was brand new. I had the paperwork in my glove compartment. I had seen the price tag. I had smelled that new car smell. I had been the first person to ever sit in those seats. I looked at my mom, and she had gone completely pale. All the color had drained from her face, and she was now fidgeting with her necklace so much that I thought she might break it. She was looking back and forth between me and my grandpa like she was watching a tennis match, and I could see panic in her eyes. "Mom?" I said, and my voice was barely above a whisper. "What's he talking about? What's going on here?" My grandpa was looking just as confused as I was. He said, "Amanda, sweetheart, I'm sorry if there was some confusion. I thought you understood that it was a used car. I mean, I wish I could have bought you a brand new car, but $25,000 is more money than I see in 6 months. I saved up for over a year to get you that $3,000 car, and I was so proud that I could do that for you." The confusion in his voice was heartbreaking. Here was this man who had been so proud of his gift, and now he was worried that somehow he had disappointed me or misled me. I could see in his eyes that he was starting to doubt himself, wondering if maybe he had forgotten something or made a mistake. What happened next, you guys, I was absolutely not prepared for. My mom took a deep breath, looked around to make sure no one else was listening to our conversation, and said, "Amanda, we need to talk. Privately. Right now." The seriousness in her voice scared me. This wasn't just about a car anymore. This was about something much bigger, something that was making my mom look like she was about to have a panic attack. We walked to the side of the house, away from everyone else. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I felt like I was about to find out something that would change everything, but I had no idea what it could be. My mom sat down on the porch steps and patted the spot next to her. "Sit down, sweetheart," she said. "We need to have a conversation that I should have had with you 3 years ago." I sat down next to her, and I could see that her hands were shaking. She was trying to figure out how to start this conversation, and I was getting more anxious by the second. "Amanda," she began, "your grandfather did buy you a car 3 years ago. He was so excited about it, and he had saved up every penny he could to make it happen. But the car he bought you wasn't the car you've been driving for the past 3 years. The car he bought you was a 2015 Honda Civic with 80,000 miles on it. It was a good car, a reliable car, but it wasn't what you deserved." I'm staring at her, completely confused. "What do you mean, Mom? What are you talking about? How is that not the car I've been driving?" She takes another deep breath and looks out at the yard where everyone is still enjoying the BBQ, completely unaware of the bomb that's about to go off in my world. "The night before we were supposed to pick up the car," she continued, "I went to the dealership. I wanted to see it one more time, to make sure everything was ready for the next morning. When I got there, the salesman showed me the car your grandfather had picked out. And Amanda, my heart just broke. Not because it was a bad car, but because I saw the look on your face when you had been dreaming about having your own car. I knew how much you had been looking forward to this moment. I knew how hard you had worked in school, how responsible you had been with everything in your life. And I couldn't let you drive away in something that wasn't as special as you are." I'm sitting there trying to process what she's telling me, but it's not making sense. "Mom," I said, "I still don't understand. What happened to the car Grandpa bought?" This is where my mom's story takes a turn that I never ever could have predicted. She said, "So I went back to the dealership the next morning early, before your grandfather got there. I talked to the manager, and I told him I wanted to upgrade the car. I paid an additional $22,000 to get you the brand new Honda Civic, the one you've been driving, the one you fell in love with the moment you saw it." I was speechless, absolutely speechless. My mom, who had been working double shifts as a nurse, who had been struggling to pay her own bills, who had been cutting coupons and shopping at thrift stores to save money, had spent $22,000 on me. "Mom," I managed to say, "how did you even have that money? Where did $22,000 come from?" And this is where the story gets even more incredible, even more heartbreaking. She said, "Amanda, I had been saving money in a secret account for years. Every overtime shift I picked up, every extra dollar I could spare, every time I skipped buying something for myself, I put that money away. I was saving it for your college fund, for your future. I wanted to make sure you had opportunities that I never had." She paused and wiped away a tear that was rolling down her cheek. "But when I saw how disappointed you looked sometimes when your friends would talk about their cars, when I saw you trying to coordinate rides and feeling like you were always depending on other people, I realized that your happiness right now was more important than any college fund. I decided that giving you independence and confidence was worth more than any money I could save for later. But wait, there's more." She continued, "I made the dealership promise me they would never tell you or your grandfather about the upgrade. I gave them an extra $500 just to make sure they would keep it confidential. I wanted your grandfather to feel proud that he had given you something special. I wanted you to feel loved by him. I wanted him to have the joy of seeing your reaction to what he thought was his gift. And I wanted to do something for you that I had never been able to do before, give you something perfect, something that would make you feel as special as you are." You guys, I started crying right there on the porch steps. Not just little tears, but full-on sobbing. I was crying so hard that I couldn't catch my breath. My mom had sacrificed her own financial security, her own future, her own dreams, just to make sure I had something special. And she had done it in complete secret, never taking credit, never making me feel guilty about it, never expecting anything in return. But here's the thing that really got to me, the thing that made me cry even harder. She had also protected my grandfather's dignity. She could have easily said, "Oh, I bought Amanda a better car than what her grandfather could afford." She could have made herself look like the hero and made my grandfather feel inadequate. But instead, she let him believe that his gift was the one I was driving every day. She let him feel proud and generous and important, even though she was the one who had made the real sacrifice. I asked her, "Mom, why didn't you ever tell me? Why did you let me think Grandpa had spent all that money?" And she said, "Because the look on your face when you thought your grandfather had bought you that car was worth more than any money I could ever spend. Seeing you feel that loved, that special, that supported by your family, that's what made every extra shift, every sacrifice, every dollar I spent worth it." She continued, "And honestly, Amanda, I love seeing your grandfather feel so proud. He would call me sometimes just to ask how your car was running, if you were taking good care of it, if you were happy with it. He was so proud that he had been able to give you something that made such a difference in your life. Taking that away from him would have been cruel." This revelation made me look at my entire family differently. My mom had been working those extra shifts not just to pay the bills, but to create moments of pure joy for the people she loved. My grandfather, who I thought was this incredibly generous man who had spent a fortune on me, was still generous, but in a different way. He had given everything he could afford, and that was still beautiful and meaningful. But what really struck me was how my mom had orchestrated this whole thing. She had managed to make 3 people happy with one secret, me, because I got an amazing car that gave me independence and confidence. My grandfather, because he felt like he had given me something that changed my life. And herself, because she had been able to provide for me in a way she never had before. I realized that sometimes the most powerful acts of love are the ones that happen in secret, the ones where you don't get credit, where you don't get recognition, where you don't get thanked, but where you get to see the people you love be happy and feel supported. My mom had been carrying the secret for 3 years. Every time I thanked my grandfather for the car, she had to smile and stay quiet. Every time my grandfather talked about how proud he was of his gift, she had to let him have that moment. Every time I posted pictures of my car on social media and tagged my grandfather, thanking him for his generosity, she had to watch from the sidelines, but she told me that it was all worth it. She said, "Amanda, every time I saw you drive away in that car, every time I saw you smile when someone complimented it, every time I saw your grandfather beam with pride when you hugged him and thanked him, I knew I had made the right choice. Your happiness, and his happiness, was worth more than any credit I could have gotten. So, what did I do with this information? Well, I made a decision that day that I think was the right one. I decided to honor both my mom and my grandfather. I told my grandfather the truth about what had happened, and instead of being upset or embarrassed, he was amazed by my mom's generosity and love. He said it made him love her even more as a daughter-in-law, and he was impressed by how she had managed to make everyone happy. And my mom? I'm still finding ways to pay her back, not just financially, but emotionally. I've started doing things for her that she's never asked for. I surprise her with little gifts. I help her with projects around the house. I make sure she knows how much I appreciate everything she's done for me. This experience taught me that family isn't just about blood relations, it's about the sacrifices we make for each other, often in silence and without recognition. I also learned something important about love and generosity. Sometimes the most meaningful gifts aren't the ones that cost the most money, but the ones that come from the heart. My grandfather's $3,000 gift was just as meaningful as my mom's $22,000 upgrade because both came from a place of pure love and wanting to make me happy. If you enjoyed this story, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow and reach more people who might need to hear stories like this. And if you have a similar story about family secrets that changed everything, about hidden acts of love, or about discovering that someone in your family had been secretly supporting you, please share it in the comments below. I read every single one, and your stories often inspire my future videos. Don't forget to subscribe to Revenge with Amanda for more shocking family stories, heartwarming revelations, and the kind of content that makes you think differently about the people in your life. Ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Because trust me, the stories I share here will keep you hooked and maybe even change your perspective on family, love, and sacrifice. Until next time, remember, sometimes the most beautiful Revenge is simply living well and appreciating the people who love you unconditionally. The people who sacrifice for you in secret, who put your happiness above their own recognition, who make your dreams come true without expecting anything in return. See you in the next video.